Okay guys, welcome to another edition. I know I haven't done it for a bit, but welcome to another edition of how it should have went or how it could have went. Basically here I talk about how certain scenarios in animation could have gone down had they been written by fans like us, or had the writing team at the time come up with different ways of doing it that wouldn't be, so obvious or so detrimental to certain characters. And since Crystal Maiden 77 decided to do a review on Hooked on Sonics recently, which was a season 1 episode, I've decided to talk about that one. Now, you might wonder what scene I'm going to bring up. Well, there's several scenes. One, probably the biggest of all, is the campfire scene at night. Sonic had recently defeated a major robot that was capable of sucking the life energy out of trees in the Great Forest, and thus be able to not only cut them down and do so, but be able to expose Knothole in the process. Now, during this celebration, Sonic, of course, being his humble self, gets approached by Sally and she kisses him on the cheek. Now, Sonic kind of fakes or over-exaggerates the kiss, really getting to him, and he falls off the log or platform he's on, which kind of surprises Sally. Sonic then, of course, gets back up, kind of plays around with her and says, the kiss was good, but it wasn't that good, and all that. And they kind of friendly banter back and forth, like, basically you could do, basically Sally's more like, basically what I'm saying is, it comes down to basically Sonic, or Sally basically asking Sonic, or daring Sonic in a sense, and asking him, you could do better, you think you could do better? And Sonic says in his own way, you don't think I can? You think I can't? Here, I'll prove it. And that's exactly what he does. He ends up kissing her right in front of everybody in a make-out kind of way, which of course grosses Tails out, but also infuriates Antoine. Now, you're wondering, why would it infuriate Antoine? Well, you see, at the time of the show, in both seasons, Antoine is a royal guard, or at least a recently graduated royal guard. And he has this mentality that the royal guards are supposed to be the heroes, supposed to be the ones that win the hearts of the princesses. So, him seeing this in season 1 is kind of like the last straw for him. And what he does is he decides, out of the joking suggest, and Rotor was just suggestively joking about this, decides to go and try to capture Robotnik, and he does this by waiting on a power ring to show up, and he's just barely able, by using a conveniently placed stick, he's able to get the power ring so he could use it as bait to lure Robotnik into a trap. Now, the trap does sort of succeed and fail. He succeeds in trapping Robotnik in a trap hole, basically have him walk across the ground and fall through a hole. But he wasn't expecting Robotnik to do what he did, which was use his jet boots to kind of get the advantage. So yeah, it kind of backfired on him. And Antoine, being portrayed as a bit of a cowardly hero, was easily dealt with. Now, the question is, how should have this went in the first place? Well, let's take a look at the kissing scene. One, I would have not, as much as I'm a Sonic Sally supporter, I would have not had Sally kiss Sonic in front of everybody, even if it's on the cheek. Nor would I have Sally dare Sonic in a friendly jest to try to prove he can do better. I wouldn't have had that happen. I would have had them just celebrating. I would have had a hug and that's it. And just go from there, or come up with a different way of doing it. Basically, I'll tell you this, I'll put it this way, even though this is 1993, I would have had some of the female members of the group, as well as, I would basically have everybody follow Sonic after he thanks them and everything, and then maybe they decide, oh, let's go get something to eat, and they just walk off and, just have all the adoration thrown Sonic's way. And you have Sally leading the pack along with Bunnie and all them. So, with that said, I would have done something different like that. As far as Antoine goes, I would have kept it a little similar to what he did, but I also would have done it this way. If I wanted to go with the same scenario that they did, I would have done it a little bit more differently. I would have had Antoine, yes, get the power ring, but I would get the power ring and I would hide it. Knowing Robotnik, because there are times they do prove that Antoine can be smart at times, can basically figure things out when he's written correctly. I would have had Antoine use the power ring to lure Robotnik and then hide the power ring out of Robotnik's sight so that he doesn't get to it. Basically, I would have done the scene as we saw it, but I would have had Antoine not holding the freaking power ring. I would have had him hide the damn thing so that when the moment came towards the end of the episode, I would have had him point to Sonic where the power ring was, and Sonic would have been able to use it right then and there. Now you might say, well, that kind of throws out the tension of the issue of Sonic always getting targeted, right? Here's the thing. Robotnik could have kept doing that. He could have came up with a different scenario. He could have found a different way. Maybe he has strands of Sonic's quills or hair, and he could have placed it in the machine instead of the power ring. The point I'm getting at, and Crystal Maiden 77 even said this, I would have written Antoine more competently. Either you have him get the power ring, use it to lure Robotnik into a trap, but before Robotnik gets there, hide it in a place you could find it just in case of emergencies. Or, as Crystal Maiden 77 put it, create a fake one. In other words, come up with a solution, come up with the idea of using a power ring or a fake power ring to lure Robotnik into a trap. So even if your plan backfires, Robotnik won't be able to utilize the power ring's power to help power up his machine to target Sonic as he's running at super speed. I know it sounds complicated. I know it sounds kind of like I'm, gasping for straws here, or grasping for straws here. But my opinion is I would have basically written these two scenes in this episode a lot differently. Again, I wouldn't have added the kissing scene, or the, let's see who could top the other in that kind of deal. I wouldn't have done that. I would have had it to where maybe you have Sally hug him, you have Bunnie hug him, and then maybe you have them all walk off with Sonic in adoration. Maybe Sonic's on their shoulders and they go celebrate, have something to eat. And that's how you end that scene. And then you could still transition into the scene later on between Antoine and Rotor, where Rotor jokingly suggests to Antoine to capture Robotnik, because that would really impress Sally if he did it. And then have Antoine, think and realize, hey, that's not a bad idea, and either A, get the power ring like he originally did, but instead of having it on him when he does trap Robotnik, hide it before Robotnik gets there. Or two, as Crystal Maiden 77 put it, have him create a false power ring to look like the real one, because he is capable, let's be honest, to probably doing something like that, and luring Robotnik into a trap with that. And you could have still gone with Antron's plan, somewhat succeeding and backfiring, and go from there. Maybe, and the other part, like with Robotnik using the power ring to power up his machine to blast at Sonic when Sonic's at super speed, have him use something else, like have him use maybe DNA, or not DNA, but use some kind of strands of Sonic's hair that he might have left over to be able to track him down, or do something around the lines, or just have him operate the machine, or show Antron what his machine's going to do, and before he has Antron sent to the roboticizer. Point is, depending how you look at it, those are several scenarios I would have written differently, or the writers should have wrote differently when it came to this episode. I mean, yes, this episode does kind of demonstrate how jealous Antron can get, or how much of a limit of jealousy Antron can take before he decides to do something stupid, or desperate, if you will. But to me, again, I wouldn't have added in the kiss. I would have done something different. Either, like I said, most likely have both the girls hug Sonic and then have Sonic go off with them and everybody else in a celebration, kind of get something to eat kind of deal. Sonic's on the shoulders. And then, as far as Antron's part goes, have him retrieve a power ring or create a fake one to lure Robotnik. And if he had to retrieve a real one, have him hide that real one in an area that even Robotnik can find and only he can remember, so that when you get to the climax, you could still have Antron remember where he hid the ring, tell Sonic about it, and have him pull it out from maybe behind a tree area, and like he did by pulling it out of the machine and giving it to Sonic. Either way, it would have made more sense and would have worked better. It would have been a lot better, in my opinion. Not saying the episode wasn't good, it was. It's just, it would have been more interesting if they would have done something like that, because because in the long run, you'd be writing a character, even if he's a cowardly hero character, and Antron very competently, or somewhat competently, with him being able to come up with the idea to, lure Robotnik into a trap, hide the power ring, or create a fake one that maybe might have a little bit of the power ring residue on it or something, and go from there. It would have been a lot easier, or a lot better. It would have made more sense in a way. You could have still, like I said, still done the storyline and all that the way, somewhat identical to what they did, but these changes, I think, would have helped improved it. But that's all I'm going to say on this edition of how it should have went, how it would have went, or could have went. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. And I will talk to y'all later.